see, that would be the southwest side of the corner lot. And then we did buy the Patterson property to have access to Highway 77. Our intention is to build storage units. We believe there's quite a need for them. I know the property, when we first started looking at it, was one of the last pieces of property in Baxter that's zoned commercial industrial, so it fits for that use. And we're only proposing to put 3 units on the 77 side, where you see the driveway come in. If possible, we would share an easement there with the property owner to the east of us, so that there'd only be one access off of 77. You know, wouldn't really need an access for both properties, I don't think. I would do it either way, you know, we could have one, but I think the county would prefer just to have one driveway coming off 77 there. And of course, you know, you can't build anything without water and sewer. We don't need sewer, but we do need a fire hydrant to get a building permit. So that's pretty much why I'm here. Is there any questions you might have about it? Or, I know there's a lot of history on this particular piece of property. I have nothing to do with that. But I guess I'm willing to take it on and see if we can make that whole area look a little bit better. And eventually have water and sewer going down to Inglewood also. That would service properties south and then maybe to the west. Trevor would be able to, you know, tell you a little bit more about that. And, you know, he's got quite a vision on that piece.
So right now, let's just plan on dead ending until something comes up in Inglewood.
Correct. Yep, dead end, the water, so it's right there. You see where that phase 1 is?
No, I see it there, I just wanted to make sure that's what I was seeing.
Alex will actually go into the more detail of the water and sewer. If you don't have any questions for Bob on the actual.
I did put a little plan together. I'd like to do it in phases. You know, it's a little bit too gutsy to put up 13 buildings at a time. We start with 3 buildings and then go up to 4 and so on, and kind of laid it out in a packet for you. So,
Yeah, this is an old phase plan that Bob was working on. We did not put the new one on paper. He's got it listed out of how many buildings each year over 5 years instead of over 4 like this shows. So it's a little bit different. But he is proposing to do it over a 5-year period.
any questions you need, or?
So what specifically are we looking for tonight?
That's what Alex will get into. After he presents the water and sewer, then I'll get up and finish it, what we're asking.
Just curious, how many storage units might be in the first building, the first phase? 'Cause I see 13 buildings, but
What's the total units? Those
How
first
how many
3.
units itself? I believe there's 25 in a first row. You mean from the driveway?
just in phase 1, how many units? would
There's
be?
3 buildings,
Okay.
and then there's approximately 75 units. And the way we've set them up there is you wouldn't see garage doors coming from the west, and you wouldn't see garage doors coming from the east. We'd have that blocked off. I know there's some ordinances that we have to, I think it's 75 feet, kind of have a break in the building, so it doesn't look like just straight buildings and so on. We'd have a little bit more decorative on the front facing 77, and then on the eastern side, or east and west side of the building. So a little bit more aesthetic looking.
Are these units standard like a single car garage, or are they larger for, say, a pontoon boat? Is the building, building height, or it will be some of each?
The very front ones, they're more single car and roller. Obviously, there's a height restriction on all of them in the city, so we
down in here, Bob, are looking maybe like RVs, campers, possibly for storage?
It could be,
Yep. Okay.
they'd be wider, but again, no taller. They're still gonna have to fit the city restrictions as far as height. There would not be any outdoor storage. There wouldn't be anything sitting around.
Fenced off with like a cipher lock entrance or just open
It's
access?
gonna be all open, but more security, camera security. Fencing is kind of not really a deterrent. People can cut fences, and aesthetically, it really doesn't look that great. We'd rather maybe landscape a little bit and not have the fencing.
And no gates either, right?
No gates.
No gates.
The gates really aren't that necessary, down force lighting, so, you're not blinded when you go by. We don't need a backlit sign for this type of project, so it's a pretty low-key sign, more of a destination location anyway.
Okay, anybody else?
Thank you. We might come back to you, but.
Yeah, so I will go into a little bit more detail from a city standpoint on the utilities. Like Trevor said, this area was annexed in 2015, and since then, nothing has been done as far as city utilities. The one thing the city did do was in 2016, they completed a study on this area. So that study involved the water extension, sewer extension, and a force main extension. And as Bob mentioned, in the city, you can't do any development without being able to hook up to city utilities. So that has not happened. For the water main, with this project, it would actually complete the 12-inch loop coming from the North Water Tower, which would be necessary to have services off of and for fire suppression. You'd have adequate flows in order to do that. And it does sound like there are other businesses or other developers, rather, that are looking at property there that would be that would benefit from hooking up to that water and sewer. Bob does not need sewer hookups on there, but we would still extend all of that through the property, through the easement. As far as a city commitment to this project, it's about $237,000. And as we know, construction, that only continues to go up from year to year if we were to wait on this. So that's kind of a brief overview on how that would benefit the city. It would allow for further expansion in the future, and these particular properties between Inglewood and Edgewood would have services available to them. So.
You have a drawing of that layout from Edgewood? Right here?
Yeah, so water is in blue, and then most of that is force main. About a third the way from Edgewood Drive, it transitions from gravity to a force main, and then that would dead end at Inglewood and be picked up for future projects. And then the assessment map, everything was in your packet. So it sounds like there may be interest in that corner piece. So there's adjustments, so that would potentially benefit that piece as well, since that's not buildable. And then the cost estimate, which we give a breakdown on the possible assessments, and then the city portion of the project. So, are there any questions from a utility standpoint?
I think that, Bob, you had stated earlier that you talked to the other property owners. Do they know this is being talked about tonight and that it could happen to them, or?
Olson's don't know that this is happening tonight. David Quisberg doesn't directly know that this is happening tonight. But David Quisberg has a buyer that was in last week asking about water and sewer on the property. They know what's happening tonight. I invited them here to hear which way the city council goes with this project, because it depends on whether they want to buy the property on it. If they bought David Quisberg's property, they want to build right away in the spring. And they got about 3 months to build their project that they want to do. So they need water and sewer by the end of the summer. So they were asking, is it gonna happen or not? And I said, I don't know. That's going to be the question on Tuesday night this week. So, yes, we have sat down with Olson's face to face twice, maybe even 3 times. We have sat down with David Quisberg once and went through it all. And then Bob has met with DJ Donlinger and went over it as well too, because DJ has an undevelopable piece of property that the easement's needed on, this triangle piece up at the intersection of Edgewood and 77. So we believe that everybody wants it. None of them want to be a developer driven as per our assessment policy. They want it as a 12-year assessment instead of as a 5-year assessment. Because that, like Olson said, they don't know how fast or when they'll put it up for sale for development, so to pay it over 12 years, you know, their assessments makes more sense. David never said one way or the other on his piece of property, whether a 5-year assessment or 12, but he's not developing it anymore. He's selling it, so. So yes, everybody has been in the loop for over a year. We've been talking about with the landowners. Bob's been looking at the property since the fall of November, December of 2022. So there's been a long time of discussions all of last year. So what is asked tonight of the city council is there consensus to go ahead with this project as a city-driven project, as a Chapter 429 in 2024. Because Bob doesn't want to go any further if the city's not going to do the project. He doesn't want to go any further. David Quisberg really can't sell his property without city water and sewer, so he's kind of waiting to see.
It's unfair to say that the project going forward, really tonight, it's, are you okay with the exploration of continuing to move forward through the 429 process? There's not a guaranteed project until we have an approved hearing in the council or if they approve it forward.
Correct, but let's not waste everybody's time going through this if they don't want to do
I
it.
just want to make it clear is that any decision made tonight isn't final.
It's not a decision, we're looking for consensus tonight.
Consensus to move forward and obtain quotes for feasibility report.
Yep. But let's not spend city taxpayer dollars on a feasibility study if you're not willing to go forward with the project. That's kind of everything in a nutshell.
You do a quick explanation, I know that you shared it with me. Utilities are usually within the right of way. Here you're proposing to go along the edges of the development onto the city, or onto into the private property. So can you just,
Because it's a county road right away, we don't want to be at their mercy of having to move when they want to do something to their roadway. Same thing as when we're in MnDOT right away, you have to be in there by permit. So we're proposing to do exactly the same thing as what we did on South Perch Lake in 2008, is go and do a private 30-foot wide easement on everybody's property. Assuming in the feasibility study right now, or not the feasibility study, but the cost estimate that was done, is that each landowner would give that 30-foot easement as part of doing the project, instead of paying them for the easement and then assessing the costs all back to them, that they just give the 30-foot up front, because it's a benefit only to their properties and really nobody else in the area. But we don't want to be in the county road right away. If they decide to do any widening, changing of stuff, then we have to move at our expense.
and then thought of the jostling down few hundred feet south of the intersection.
Yeah, to take and come down through Bob's development, because he needs the fire hydrants in spots anyway. This is 100% undevelopable, it's all wetland, and everything north of 77 is not in the city limits, but it's also 100% wetland. So there's no developable property at this intersection. Plus, in the feasibility study that we did back in 2016 with that road project and the annexation, the lift station shows on, down at Peace Road and Inglewood Drive intersection, somewhere in that area. So this sets up the force main to go south on Inglewood to that future lift station somewhere down there. And then, like Alex was saying, it doesn't complete the water loop, but it gets the 12-inch water main headed towards the north water tower, which is our long-range plan of our entire water system, is to build that 12-inch water main all the way back down Inglewood Drive to the north water tower at White and Inglewood intersection. So there is good benefits to the rest of the city, especially when you look at the properties to the west of Inglewood. Is now, it gives them a future that there could be another additional project to connect up and get water and sewer to those properties that are undeveloped, that were annexed into the city. Though I will note for the record, Tom Bircher has sold all the properties, so he's not the landowner of those undeveloped parcels anymore. But Tom was the owner back in the day when we did the annexation, and Tom was a proponent of taking and getting the water and sewer done way back then. Because then he could sell his property to somebody that could build right away. And I think that's where David Quisberg, we have not talked with him, but he hasn't been successful. He put the property up for sale almost a whole year ago. And he hasn't been successful at selling it because nobody can build on it without city water and sewer.
So can you expand on the city cost?
City cost is the oversizing of the 12-inch water main all the way from Edgewood to Inglewood, and then it's the cost of the force main across the Bob Sullivan property. That force main is strictly a benefit for that lift station in the future. There's no benefit to any of the property owners along the way for that force main. So the biggest share of the city costs is that force main. That estimated 237,000.
So that previous study, did that have that force main in it?
Yes. But it went all the way to the lift station, so it was tied all together all the way to Peace Road. And then we do an area-wide assessment for the lift station, so that cost would be added to that future lift station, and then that lift station is assessed out to an area-wide assessment of the benefited area, except for any R1 properties. We don't do an area-wide assessment on lift stations for R1 properties.
So that force main, is that accessible to an area-wide?
Yes, it will be in the future when you put the lift station in. So you capitalize it, hold that cost until that lift station goes, and then add that cost of that force main to that project in the future. There's no way to assess it out right now because there's no benefit without the lift station going into those other properties.
So then is from Peace Road, it's going to be forced north through that, and then,
Yep, back to Edgewood Drive. It's a gravity system all the way from Edgewood Drive here, all the way down to the front of where Bob's first phase is, of the first 3 buildings, is gravity. So all of that is 100% assessed to the 3 property owners, Olson's, Quisberg, and Bob Sullivan. But then it's the force main cost from that last gravity manhole And then it's the oversizing of the 12-inch water main.
Do you like it?
I think it's the right thing to do to get the property so they can develop in the area. This gets this developing, I think Quisberg's will sell and develop. I think Olson's will put theirs up for sale within a few years, because they are retired. Problem is that they remodeled the house on that property, and she made it into her she shed, the house, and did many thousands of dollars worth of remodel. So she'd like to get a little value out of the house yet for a few years, but like I said, they're not getting younger, so eventually they'll put it up for sale. And then it really opens up finishing water and sewer to the west of Inglewood Drive. Gary's painting the wood place and those empty lots in there so that you could, you know, get that whole intersection developed in the future. Otherwise, there's no timetable right now on if and when they can even do it. It needs to get this first 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet first before anything else can happen to the west of there. So I think it's good overall. It also, like I say, the other benefit is if the next time we probably rebuild Inglewood Drive, we want to finish that 12-inch water main all the way down to Whiter Road. Depending on what happens in that Jack Pine Brewery, corner lots, you know, development there on the Botany, sooner or later, as it develops out in that area, the demand's gonna keep rising where we're gonna need to backfeed that 12-inch water line into that commercial district on Edgewood Drive. So it's not needed right now, it's not a panic, but the closer you get to it within the next probably 15, 20 years, the better off the city is.
Now, we're just talking about authorizing a feasibility study right now, but I'm looking a little bit further down the line. If the project goes through, are people willing to sign off on the assessments, or will be potential battles?
Only one that's willing to sign off right now that we were gonna come with for the feasibility study, Bob's willing to sign a petition and waiver agreement for his estimated share. I don't think you'll get Olson's to do it. I think they're gonna wanna retain their right during the improvement hearing to object or not object, you know, to it. I don't know where David Quisberg stands. I would think that he's gonna wanna do it unless the costs have really gotten ridiculously high since this last estimate was done. Like I say, he's stuck not being able to sell the property.
Well, I will just express my opinion, voice of one. Many times I've been shown what that's worth. But the bottom line is we've kind of pigeonholed these properties with what we've done. Not that we've done anything wrong, we haven't, we needed to do what we did. But the end result was that it created a situation where, you know, people were not able to build without sewer and water. So I think it's a little bit different than maybe a normal application that would come in. What I'm saying by saying that is that a couple of things. Number one, on a regular assessment would be 4 to 5 years. I think it is on a commercial. So we would be stepping out of our assessment box to do this. But again, I do think that it is a benefit to the city to get this thing. You guys have talked about whatever the term was you just used, the circulation of the water for a long time. We get property available to get developed that's wanted to be developed for quite some time, and we get some things to move in that area. And so
last time we went through it.
I did have one quick question
You
for the
bet.
property owner, and I apologize for not asking you this earlier. Do you feel that there'll be some capacity to leave some forestation and trees in your development, or because of its storage facility, are you gonna have to clear cut that whole lot?
I think there's room, I mean, you know, if you drive by it again, you'll see that, especially the wetland area, is, you know, we're not gonna touch that. And like I said, these won't be typical storage units, just because we're trying to be sensitive to the east and west side, and maybe have them a little bit more decorative, you know, and work with the city on that, so. I'm not objecting, I mean, when we've done other ones, you know, we put pine trees in, we put grass in, shrubs in, yeah.
Good, thanks.
There is a landscape.
We're gonna do what we can do.
Well, I understand. They're trying to
Have
visualize.
you looked at the existing trees?
No, well, yes, I drive by there about once a week.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay, we don't, excuse me.
Most of that, I'm sorry, most of it's open right now anyway.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's really, it's not a forest coming down.
No, I understand that. I drive by there all the time. I get that.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah. Well, our workshop doesn't allow for motions, but we're looking for a consensus, and I think we have a consensus on to authorize staff to move forward with that, and probably be meeting back here again after that comes forward, so.
I will make a motion.
Good, good, man.
Second.
I would expect nothing less.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Actually, the computer says something.